Twickenham, 80,000 Friday night, Springboks All Blacks. Why play the game? Cashish. Lots of it. Cash, baby, cash. Great game. World Cup quarterfinal or World Cup final?
Ooh. I'm saying quarterfinal, mate. I'm saying quarterfinal. I mean, yeah, I'm guessing the money must be good for that. It is kind of weird going into the World Cup playing basically the two biggest rugby brands in the world playing each other on the eve of the World Cup. Interesting.
No, I think they've looked at their World Cup draw and they've decided if one of us doesn't get there or both of us don't get there, we'll have our own final. This is the World Cup final for us. 80,000, all in pounds, and the two unions split the money.
Beautiful.
Great, great marketing. I think it's a great occasion. And what I do like about this, the way the cards have fallen, South Africa's put out, outside of Colby and Deolandi, they put out their best 23 available. And New Zealand, our man, Jason Ryan.
Jason.
Mate, we'll be putting out our best. So it's best against best. And no one's getting roped in cotton wool. I like that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a cracking game. It is an interesting build-up and context to this match. It's not a typical Springboks versus All Blacks. It feels like there's a lot more at play there. And then obviously the selection of a guy like Kane Moody at outer centre just adds extra spice to it. So I'm very much looking forward to this one.
So am I. I just hope they do play in the traditional green and they play in the traditional black. And we don't see them in their away jerseys. That would really add a little bit more intrigue and a little bit of weirdness to the occasion.
Yeah.
But Friday night under lights at Twickenham, all the expats out there, and it's debatable. You know, who's got more there? South Africa or New Zealand who live over there? But I think by mass numbers we have more.
Surely.
Definitely we have more. But it will be a great occasion. The last time those two teams met there, it was 2015. It was the World Cup semi-final, 20 points to 18 to the All Blacks. But we remember the Boks ended that game on their try line.
Yes.
Beaten to a pulp.
Yeah.
Interesting though, if you look at the statistics between the two teams over 100 plus years, when the All Blacks play at home, they win by 10 points. When they play in South Africa, they win by 1 point. And when they play on neutral ground, on average, they win by 5 points. Interesting stats there for you guys to keep.
Are you saying Boks by 10?
I'm saying Boks always, mate. When it's on a Tuesday, it's always the Boks. It gets close to the game, we'll start wondering. The biggest news for me, though, is how Jacques Nienaber keeps on reinventing the narrative. Polly is close. Polly is fit, and so is Lukhanyo. There's been so much confusion out there. I got hold of Dominic Rumble from World Rugby and asked, is it a case that they didn't select these guys because if they then take them to the World Cup and they don't make it, they can't play, they can't replace them? And he said, no, the 33 that goes there, it's up to each team's management to decide how they want to use them. And if they send players home, they do, and if they bring players in, they do. So then I don't quite know what the hoo-ha has been about. Then pick them from the outset.
Exactly.
So I have a theory, and it's not a conspiracy theory.
Come on.
That's our man on there on the left. That France is going to throw again at the World Cup. My theory is that Pollard will start against Scotland, or at least be on the bench. And that Lukhanyo will be there as well for the latter part. And that they're going to sacrifice Marco van Staden, Keo will come through, and they're going to sacrifice Jaden Hendrickse because of Grant Williams' utility value.
I like it, mate.
And I wasn't speaking to anyone in the management. That's just my view, okay?
I'm still trying to wrap my head around why. So they don't have to officially name their World Cup squad. I think it's on Friday, the 26th, I think is the deadline for naming that squad. They decided to name it early, and in naming it early, they had to leave out these two blokes. And both of these blokes are now allegedly going to be ready to play at the World Cup, and we still haven't reached the deadline. So I don't understand the sort of violin about breaking guys' hearts who you said were in the World Cup squad and now you have to drop them.
They should have just taken them from the outset, and if they don't make it, boom, replace them. But when they went with the 4 scrum halves, when they went with the extra loose forward, well, 2 options there, Dion Fourie, who can cover a hooker, and Marco van Staden. I think they kind of went in there with a plan that there are dispensable guys there. Would Sia come through? He's come through 40 minutes. We hope he gets through 60 minutes on Friday night at least.
Can we just talk about that performance, just for a second?
Outstanding, eh?
I mean, what more could that guy have done on his comeback? Literally walks back into the team after 3 months or whatever it was, 4 months.
Inspires them. That wonderful tackle
No,
that he
mate,
made.
that was incredible.
Huh?
When
He just refused to stop running.
When Jesse screamed in like that, like shutting from a million miles out, and Sia had to cover 50 meters of space, and he took off, I was like, okay, well, this is the end of this guy. Incredible.
No, it was an incredible performance, and he just lifts that Boks team. He gives them a different dimension. He's
Definitely.
an inspirational guy. He's charismatic, and the Boks just look so much better when Sirkalisi is leading them.
Yeah.
They also just look so much more likable, friendly, and ambassadors of the country. He's just a charismatic character, and he will certainly go down as one of the big names in Springbok and world rugby, given what he's achieved. Looking to do a mighty Macau and go back-to-back 2019 World Cup winners, 2023. That's what they've said the plan. Everything comes down to the 28th of October. The Boks say they'll be there and they'll be winning it. First, All Blacks Friday night. It should be a ripper. All Blacks are weakened. No Frizzell and no Brodie Retallick. That's two of their best players in the pack. I go back to that game in Mount Smart, and we were caught cold. And they played brilliant rugby for the first 15 to 20 minutes. Everything stuck. But there was a moment at 23-17 that we were right back in that game. With a little bit of luck, we score. We dominate the last quarter. When the Peter Steph du Toits, the Dwayne Vermeulens came on the field, our bench had a huge impact to that game. They then showed a bit of class to kind of close the game out. But the differential wasn't quite what that scoreline said at the end.
I mean...
Come on, that's not what you told me when you came here.
You know, you're probably right. I just feel like that's something that Wales would say, you know? In fact, that's something that Wales did say. Warren Gatland said, you know, it's easy to stop 4 or 5 of those tries the Springboks scored.
Yeah, soft tries, Wales.
You know? 8 more converted tries and Wales were right back in that match. I don't know.
All right, so the All Blacks have done us at Ellis Park. And I said they wouldn't, we're a better team. They did us in Auckland, I said they wouldn't, they're a better team. We're a better team. Again, I love... Jesus. How's this for patriotism? I look at that Boks 23 and I think, how can they lose? And then they go out and they get smashed in 15 minutes by the high-tempo All Blacks.
Look,
am I blinded here? Have I got a blind spot?
No, the Boks don't have to win on Saturday, right?
Well, because they're playing on Friday. So
I mean, or on Friday. They don't have to win this week, but they cannot afford to take a pasting. They have to be competitive in this one. You know, they lost to the All Blacks in the opener at the last World Cup and they came back and won the whole thing. So it's not necessarily about winning, but it's about looking like you can win. And that is, despite all the changes, that's what we've got to see this week.
You don't think we've got to see a Boks victory?
No, I don't.
Maybe a draw. Both teams are happy.
Put your money on it, mate.
Hey, both teams are happy. They head off to the World Cup.
They share the money, they share the points.
Yep.
I like the way you think,
matey.
matey.
Thinking now. Hey? Down to a 26-all spectacular draw in the last 3 minutes.
How did Richie Mwanga miss from right in front of the uprights?
Ka-ching. Looking at the Boks performance against Wales,
Yes.
we said it would be 40 points. We said 24, 27, then we saw their withdrawals. Williams, Dan Bigger.
You texted me, you said.
Experienced guys.
Yeah.
They realized this was a good one to miss, okay?
I'm out.
Sometimes your reputation is enhanced when you're in the stands.
I have a bar mitzvah.
Imagine if they were there. So, what I loved is that quality Boks team, you would bet on them to put 80 points past that Welsh team in South Africa and 50 points past them in Cardiff. And
Done.
And they did.
But that's what I asked for. Remember,
And
you
they
said I'm a
did.
hard task. It's exactly what I asked for. It's what they did, except for the one category, the goal kicking. Other than that, gold.
Well, Marnie Boks says he does love penalty tries. And, you know, his kicking was erratic, but...
It was terrible.
Yeah, it was terrible. But don't let that detract from just his all-round game. He throws passes that no other 10 in this country could throw.
True.
And they led to 5-pointers, more important than 3-pointers. So let's also look at what this guy does.
Asterisk, Wales C team.
Let's look at what he does and what he's done against Australia, what he's done against Argentina, what he's done against Wales. Let's stop this negativity.
So let's say for
You're
a
the
second.
problem, mate.
It's me. I should give myself an uppercut. So what I'm saying is if we had Percy at the back kicking the points and Marnie was just playing 10, happy days. No problems. But if Marnie's going to be the goal kicker, that's a problem.
Well, he was the goal kicker for the Stormers for 2 seasons.
He
Top
kicked at
point scorer.
76% in the URC.
Find me a current South
Chris
African rugby
Smith.
player.
Chris Smith kicked at 90%. He was the best in the URC.
Yeah, and then missed the only one missed the only one he had to kick, which was in the Currie Cup final. Can you remember?
Yeah.
So again,
Currie Cup, you don't win it.
I think Marnie Lebok has been done a disservice.
No, mate. Come on!
Marnie Lebok came in at 12, Kane in at 13, Chesin out at 14. My God,
What a team.
Backline.
That is a team.
And with that monster pack.
Yeah, I love it. Just need a goal kick. I don't care if it's Peter Steph the toy. Somebody there's got to bang it at 80% or more.
Just when I saw Mornay Staines' picture on SARugbymag, I thought he was back.
He's back, baby.
Eh?
Yeah.
Just so wrong that he's going to the Lions.
Yeah.
When that guy has to play in blue, he has to wear blue or green and gold.
I would love to know the backstory, how in this dire emergency he hasn't been called into the box setup. For me, I mean, that's a travesty.
All right, well, we've kind of spoken about
Anyway.
ad nauseum, and he is retired now. He's not coming back.
Maybe. He played in the Jersey 10s last week.
All right, Pollard.
Yes, no, he didn't play in the
Try
Jersey 10s.
and be serious for a moment.
Okay, Pollard.
Pollard.
Nice guy.
Can he come back with no games?
I would have said no, but did you see what Sir Khaleesi did on the weekend?
Are these guys now just define physics, just define everything?
It's a PlayStation generation, mate. You just plug him in and they go.
It's incredible.
It is incredible.
That in the old days, these guys would basically have a club game, have another club game, play 20 minutes, so that's close to a month. It's like teams you have to arrive a week, 2 weeks beforehand to acclimatise. Now they arrive on the Thursday, play on the Friday.
Bang. Fast food.
But what can Polly have the same kind of impact as a Sia has? Because that, within the team context, I mean, he's a Manier. They look at him as the general. Would he give them the lift that, say, Amani doesn't at the moment?
I don't know. So there, I don't know if you can compare the two guys like that, because yes, Marnie lacks experience, but he adds the sizzle as an X-factor guy. He unlocks defenses. You know, I think opposing teams look at him and they're like, sure, okay, he's not the most physical guy, but he can break us down. And his cross kicks are in the picture as well. So I think the Andre thing gives the coaches a lot of ease because of the experience. They know he's going to stick to the maps and he's going to play the plan and he's going to do what needs to be done, make the right calls, say the right things at the right time. And when the heat comes on, like it didn't against the Wales C team, then composure will be a commodity that's at a high premium. So I think he adds value in other departments. I'm not saying for 1 second that Andre Pollard's a 90% goal kicker and he's got a history of doing that and he's going to solve that issue. I'm just saying he's got the experience of kicking big kicks in big games. And so potentially he could solve that problem.
Is the ideal situation for them that he's available to play Scotland? He starts off the bench as a 12-10 cover and a goal kicking cover. He gets 20 minutes. By the time the Irish game comes, he's starting and Lebok's on the bench.
Yes. So this talk about Andre playing 12, I think, is absolute madness because you've got Damien Willemse, you've got Andre Estes, you've got Damien Delaney, you've got plenty of oaks that can play 12. We don't need Andre to play 12. I don't think he's a 12 defender. I think he's a physical 10 defender. I think he's an under physical 12 defender. So I don't like to talk about Andre at 12, but definitely if we can have him back in the mix, if potentially we've got Andre, Damien, and Lucanio back for the Ireland match, I think we're in a good place then.
Does Marnie Lebok then still feature in that 23?
Well, in the 23, absolutely, because he'd be the backup fly-off, I would think.
Again, I go back to, the guy does add something quite magnificent on attack.
Definitely.
And he certainly brings an added dimension. I know what you said after the Australian test. It's not traditional, typical Bok rugby. It's more Stormers rugby.
Yeah.
But if I go back and I look at Jake's team in 2007, and particularly the match against Tonga, look, they snuck it in the end.
Yes.
But they scored some fabulous tries. The dimension that I see a guy like Marnie Lebok that's added is this very effective use of the cross kick. He's got pace, he backs himself, and he plays with a freedom that I actually quite enjoy.
It's fantastic to watch. He's a lovely player. And he's a creative guy and it's great to watch. I'm just saying...
Should we not be backing him more?
It's not that we should or shouldn't be backing him. It gives you some insight into where the Boks are because Rassie would never choose to go that way. So the fact that he is going that way is an indication that the Boks don't feel like they have control of the game. They are looking to somebody to unlock a team. They're looking for somebody to take a kick that wasn't chased properly, a moment of magic, and it puts Makazole or Kanan into space and it's a try from 65 meters. Whereas in the past, Rassie was very much about controlling the game to create pressure so that the points are something that we go and take, not that kind of get given to us.
Or that we chase.
Yeah.
So John Smith, legendary Springbok captain,
Yeah.
hooker prop, he always used to refer to the Boks being these pythons. The way they play is they squeeze, they strangle, and they suffocate the opposition. And we work hard for our points. And we're a team that traditionally, when the Mornay Steins were there and the Percy Montgomerys were there, Yanni de Beer, we kind of build scoreboard pressure. And the minute we 12, 15-3 up, 15-6 up, we start playing a bit more.
Yes.
With a guy like Lebok there, though, we play from the beginning. And we don't, you don't necessarily build scoreboard pressure because you may miss 2 of the first 3. So with his erratic boot, has it not forced us into kind of playing his way?
But that's exactly what I'm talking about. We are in a position where we are now reactionary. We don't have the impetus. We don't have the control. We are not proactive. We are now saying we're in a bit of trouble here, despite having 4 years to get ready for this. So our best option is we can't kick points. I'm not sure what's happening with the maul. We're going to put our eggs in the counter-attack, turnover strike basket.
And that's where Colby comes in. That's where Damian Willemse comes in. Barney Lebok comes in.
Yeah.
These guys are capable. A bit like the best New Zealand game breakers.
Spot on.
The Severeses of the world.
Spot on.
They're capable of turning a game in 20 seconds.
Yeah.
We saw that at Twickenham with Lebok and Willemse, that counter-attack that led to a try.
Yes.
Kind of a Rassie Jacques team would never have scored that kind of try because they are so defensively orientated and structure orientated.
So the potential is that having a team that can counterattack really well, in a way, encourages opposing teams to hold on to the ball and to attack you. And that feeds Jacques' defense, right? That's what he wants. He wants you to run at them. But the downside is that teams like Ireland that can hold on to the ball for multiple phases and will eventually wear you down like that if you don't control the field position. You spend most of the game in your own 40 just trying to get out of there. And eventually with the lottery that is refereeing, you're going to come off second best. So I'm not sure I think it's a plan that can give you, you become France. You can knock anybody over on any day, but you can't string 6 successive controlled victories together.
If you talk about Jacques' defense, I mean, he's considered, I'll probably say with Sean Edwards as the best in the business. 8 tries we've conceded against the All Blacks in the last 2 games. And then if you go back 2 seasons ago, the ease in that first test that Australia cut us up.
Yeah.
There is a way to beat our defense. Not necessarily consistently, but you only need to lose 1 in this World Cup.
And that's exactly,
and you're on your way home.
That's it. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
So if you look at Ireland against England, and I know England are struggling at the moment,
yes,
but that was a very good Irish performance. That was their first hit out, their A team. And give them their due. I mean, they had perfected their attack. They're an intelligent side who adds the mongrel. Again, mentality is going to be everything there. They're going their way with history weighted against them. They've never gone beyond the quarterfinals. But the core players, they are good enough to win it. They're good enough to kind of knock anyone over. Ditto the French. When you look at where we sit, and the last we saw of the All Blacks was that 33-9 in Melbourne. But again, extenuating factors. Australia very competitive for 35, 40 minutes, lost their 2 props, lost influential players, and that side hasn't played. They only play now on Friday. Where would you put everyone in the pecking order, basically a fortnight out?
Great question, mate, and I'm going
Thanks,
to ask it straight back at you. So, I think New Zealand are a team that's definitely on the rise. Are they invincible? Obviously not. What I like about them is they've got back, they've always been able to strike from 99 meters out, right? They've always had the talent and the ability and the inclination to do that. But what Jason Ryan has revived is the physical edge up front. And now they can control you at the set piece. They can attack you at the set piece. They can build scoreboard pressure. They've got Richie Mo'unga. And then to complement that, they've got Beauden Barrett, Will Jordan, who scores every time he touches the ball, and. So that makes them a much more complete package in my mind. I think going into this World Cup, New Zealand are the team. France, I don't know what it's going to take to convince me that France can string it together. I like a lot of their pieces and what they do. I'm not convinced that their pack is as ferocious as the reputation they have. When we played them last year, it looked to me like everyone was trying to get off the field. I think they are heavyweights in the Northern Hemisphere. I want to see what they do against the All Blacks and the Boks.
Intermac, big blow.
Massive blow.
Jalibert, good player, not quite Intermac.
Yeah, I mean, probably one of the best backups to have though, right? Also a creative player. I'm interested to see how it affects their kicking game. Obviously, Anton Dupont is the key guy there.
If he goes down, they go down.
No, they're in trouble. That's it. That's it. He's their France Malhaber.
He's their Dan Carter.
He's their Dan Carter, yeah.
Do they have a beaver? All right, so it's those two from the north, and you would say South Africa.
I want to hear, who do you think?
Who do I think?
Yes.
I think whoever wins, I think the two teams playing on Friday night.
Whoever wins that wins the World Cup.
Not who wins that. I think one of those two teams will win the World Cup. I just think the psychology at the moment is weighted in their favour. I saw this clip that they put out going to Ellis Park, those youngsters, backs to the wall, 26-10 in Nelspruit, second biggest ever defeat against the Springboks. The crowd, the intensity, and how those kids stood up. 15-0 up, Boks came back to lead, and then they struck in the last 5 minutes with a player down. Bowden Barrett sent off. Just what it meant for those kids. And they took that confidence into the next game against the Springboks. That's why I just feel we got to knock them over on Friday, just to get a little bit of balance back in terms of you win one, we win one, and we go to the quarterfinals or the final and we play them.
Geez, I would love that.
But I think that the rise of New Zealand, especially since Jason Ryan's been there, Joe Smith's coming as their attack coach, just the way they've played, I just look at the quality of this Boks side. They've put together one or two decent performances. Again, I know it was Wales C, but you only play who's in front of you.
100%.
And I just thought they were very good.
They were.
And they can only be better if Lukhanyo Ami's there.
100%.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's a big blow to us in terms of 13 and the quality of the player. I thought that was the statement performance we wanted to see.
Yes.
And then they picked a very good squad to back it up to go play the All Blacks.
But they've done it in a way where it's not the first team. You know what I mean? It's not like, if they lose on Friday night, it's not like, well, the best that the Boks can put out there has lost against the All Blacks going into the World Cup.
No, exactly. And I think they've played around with a 23-25 that there isn't a definitive first team anymore.
Yes.
We know there's definitive two props. We know Eben's always going to start. We know Sia's going to start. We know Peter Steph's going to start. 8's a lottery. 9 Faf, but in other games, you may want to play someone else. Damon, I'd always start at 12, a lottery at 13. And then the back three, it's interchangeable who you want to play there. So it's not so much that we lose much when we pick one and not the other. Where you look at other teams and it's like, if that guy's out, they're in trouble. There's their 15, and kind of that's very much the backup side. I think New Zealand, the one thing, when I saw that performance against Australia in Dunedin, those second stringers are not quite where their top 20 players are.
I agree with that.
And but I do like what they've done with their props. I think they light at lock. Again, they brought Retallick in and he's injured. Same happened in the last World Cup and it backfired on them. But I think the key there is that they've got their set piece, as you said, right? And they've decided Mohanga is the 10. And how do they stop Bowden Barrett in?
Spot on.
Either at 15 or he comes off the bench. But this dual attack play, then Barrett's at 10, then Mohanga's
Disaster.
at 10. Mohanga controls. He's a beautiful 10 in the traditional way.
Agreed.
Bowden Barrett's a magnificent athlete. So I would liken those two to a US van der Westhuizen at 9 and a Farida Prayer. One was the most complete scrum half, Farida Prayer. The other one was the most complete athlete, US van der Westhuizen. And then how would you accommodate them? You play Joost on the wing.
Brilliant.
So I think they've got that right. I really do like the look of our 23. Again, the confidence that's there. And I think being in a pool with Scotland, with Tonga, with Ireland, you get through that, you battle hardened. You've played tough games to get there. And there's also that luxury you can drop a game, as we saw in the last World Cup. So, yeah, I'm a lot more excited. But I'm looking forward to this game because it's not a Mickey Mouse hit-out on Friday night. It is actually a test match between the old enemies, and there's a lot to gain from it. And the psychology of World Cups and the psychology of playoff matches is when one team goes in there with a bit more history, it does play a factor.
Yeah.
Is that all you got to say after that monologue?
I'm going to say yes.
Yes.
No, I think you're spot on. And I think...
give us the raw!
I think it is important that the Springboks give a good account of themselves in this one, because we saw what happened in terms of morale after Australia. We backed it up with not a victory, and it was messy. And I don't think we want to take that taste in our mouths to the World Cup.
The tempo that they talk about, and this is what they did in Mount Smart. They played with a tempo that kind of really shocked us. But they couldn't, you've got to be so fit to play with that tempo, and they couldn't really sustain it after 30 minutes. And our heavies came on, kind of settled it down. made the contest a contest at the break time where I mean, that opening 20 minutes, it's like they were playing against an unopposed team. The exits were so easy, the rhythm was there from quick phase ball, and then the minute Peter Steph came on and Dwayne came on, slowed it down completely. Can we live with their pace?
I think we can. I think there is an element of truth to what we were hypothesizing about their training this season and how they've gone into games looking absolutely out of puff. And I think Friday night's going to be interesting. You know, I think we may be talking about the bomb squad next week, because I think Erkies Neyman, Jean Klein, and those guys are going to come off the bench with Trev and Ox and do some proper damage.
It is an incredible bench. And you may see a kind of similar performance to the one we saw on the Gold Coast. When that second half, probably one of the best Bok bench performances. It shouldn't have come down to a last-minute penalty from Elton. We were in such control. Although they have improved in terms of their mindset, their mongrel. I mean, this guy, Jason Ryan, what he did at the Crusaders, what he did for Fiji, and what he's done for the All Blacks, give him his dues. And it's nice to see an All Black play with a bit of mongrel.
Great,
the world
great
needs
variety.
it,
Absolutely,
physicality.
man. Yeah.
Last thing before we kind of get on with our day, Zels, editor of SA Rugby magazine, and deservedly so.
Despite the emails.
Despite all the emails in your inbox. I mean, you're a magnificent editor. 164-page World Cup special coming out. The tagline is "Just do it again." And they're more than capable of doing it. The elephant in the room. Match officials, bunker system, yellow cards, red cards. I just hope that this World Cup is not decided by us talking about who's got the better lawyers, yellow cards that should have been reds, reds that shouldn't have been yellows, and a game that turns not because one team's inferior to the other, but because of a ridiculous refereeing decision where someone says it's in player safety's name, the other person says it's not. Where are we positioned on this?
Yeah, I think World Rugby needs to have a really good think about this, because they may have duped a lot of rugby people into buying the narrative around this and accepting 7 cards on a Saturday. But when you showcase this game to the world and it becomes a courtroom drama, I don't think you're going to be doing your product any good. And so, yeah, rugby's become a thing now where basically you buy a ticket to see who's going to get sent off on the weekend, and I think that's very bad for the game. And hopefully this TMO bunker system operates at maximum efficiency, because we cannot afford to have a World Cup where we spend 10 minutes of every match looking at slow motion replays so we can send someone off the field. So I also hope that there's consistency, and it's not a situation where the World Cup starts where if you look at someone it's a red card, and by the end of the World Cup Oaks are hacking each other and it's just play on.
Well, look, I've always been a huge supporter of 15 plays 15.
Yeah.
And punish the player, not the team.
Yeah.
Send the player, replace him, and put him on report, let him go to the judiciary on Monday and get banned for 6 weeks or 10
Spot
weeks.
on.
But you keep the contest alive, 15
Correct.
on 15.
Correct.
And what we've seen in the last 5 years, especially of World Rugby, 12 playing 15, 13 playing 15, 14 playing 15, it's a mess. And yeah, I don't know if it will ever happen, but let's keep the contest going. Zels and I will be chatting to you again on Thursday when we give our predictions for the week.
Woo!
And stay tuned for that, because you could win a lot of money with the bookies, because this guy's informed. Never forget, he's the only guy who ever backed Ronan O'Gara and La Rochelle to win the Champions Cup, and then they did it again. So he's in the know, and that's why he's the editor of SA Rugby magazine, for those of you who may have questioned it.
Brilliant.